TRON. The short term is looking pretty ugly, but the long term, it's whole. Let's break it down. What up, what up? It is I, Carlton Flowers, chilling like a villain in my J's, my Jordans. This is my favorite Jordan hoodie. Check that out. I'm a big fan of the Jordan gear. Well, anyway, this was a Christmas gift a couple years ago, and I keep it looking fresh and new. But I'm going to tell you what, this price line on TRON, it's not looking fresh and it's not looking new because it's doing the same old stuff that it has done to us many times in the past. So we're going to break down this price line and see if we can get a clue as to what's going to happen in the short term, what the absolute bottom can be, and what the upside is. All right, let's get rid of that and checking out TRON on the 4-hour chart. So right now we had this nice little recovery movement, this little stair step movement right here that looked kind of nice until we broke right back down to the point of control on the micro level, point of control at 2.7 cents roughly. And we see that the stochastic, it's gonna go negative on us. We peaked out there. Whoops, let's make that a thin line. We peaked out here up in the overbought territory and made a definite rounded off move where the fast line and the slow line are diverging, and it looks like we're going to be headed in the downward direction. I just can't get these little indications right here today, can I? All right, so at any rate, we're going to look at the overall and try to see if we can figure out what's going to happen in the short run, and then also long term. But before we zoom out to the one-day chart, just a quick look at this on balance volume. Since the big peak and somewhat of a correction, I'm pretty satisfied that we've leveled off right here between, these three levels here. I think that this is not bad. 1, 2, 3, showing that people are kind of hanging on and holding the big hands. The big whales are not unloading their positions. We don't see heavy distribution going on. So that's kind of good. I like that. I appreciate that, TRON. But let's zoom out and check out the one-day chart and see what it looks like overall. And I'm going to show you where I jumped in on this. I've had TRON. I've been in and out of this so many times. This is one of my favorites back in 2017. So in 2017, I had like 40,000 TRON, and I was waiting until they launched the main net. We went through the test net, then the main net, and then it flopped, and we entered into the big crypto bear market. Crypto winter had started, and I unloaded it and decided to move on. So this is probably the third or fourth time I bought in and out of this project, and let me show you where I jumped in here. I came in at 3.3 cents like a dummy. This is just a dodo bird move, and I should have known better. But we were on this little uptrend here, this ascending base, and then I thought we had a nice, lovely triangle formation happening right here, and I made the same mistake similar to what I did on OXT, except for the fact that this was a parallel pennant, a parallel triangle, where the bottom and the top are on the same slope instead of, say, an ascending is when the formation looks like this, and then a descending is when the formation has a flat bottom, okay? So whatever the case, it broke out on the apex of this thing to the downside, as we know, and now I'm just sitting and waiting to decide what to do and when I'm going to consolidate and get more. And the reason why I say that is because I think the price is going to come down. Here's why. First of all, we're going to look at previous levels of support and resistance. We see these three lines that I have indicated here in the light blue, and these coincide with previous levels of consolidation. And where we had a base of support, we come back down and supports again. This top line, support, then it broke through, but then it did not provide any resistance here. We blew through, and now we're settling back up here at this upper short line that's already been violated. And I think we're going to see movement back down to this previous baseline. And here's why. First of all, the stochastic is looking pretty decent here because we have an upward type of momentum, and the fast line is divergent from the slow line. But what's the volume doing? We have no volume. So whenever we see this low volume happening right here, but at the same time stochastic is moving up, and then while the stochastic is moving up, and then we look up here and we see very minimal corresponding price movement. In other words, when the price is just kind of creeping up like this instead of doing something big like we did back here, we know that that's a divergence. So we shouldn't be fooled by that. That tells me that the price is probably going to settle back down, and we're going to be looking for this next level of support somewhere around this price. Let's turn drawing mode off so we can get this price at 2.4 cents. So when we consider just the recent movement here, the point of control is 2.7 cents. And then we're coming upon a critical boundary. This ring, this is the 4.216, I believe, of this fib circle boundary based on the upward swing. Okay, and I think when we hit this point, we're probably gonna go lower yet again. So what's the next base of support? Well, first of all, let me just show you this real quick. This base here coincides with this great big volume candle on the volume profile, where we have a nice chunk of action here where there was a lot of heavy-handed people doing some massive buying. They also like this chunk, but the momentum is moving downward, and we tend to snap towards these next volume chunks. Now, if we don't hold this level right here along this line, if we don't hold that, we're going to hit into a slip zone, okay? And that means that once you see this little area here where there's not a lot of buying volume, there wasn't any big candles in this area, this price range is not attractive to institutional buyers. So if the momentum is going down, this big chunk here is what we see from history, that there was a lot of interest in buying at this level. So this chunk is going to have a gravitational pull, and notice how it kind of sort of coincides with this bottom level of support here. So I think that if we violate this line, we'll quickly tap onto this one and move right down to this lower support. That is the worst case scenario. Well, I wouldn't say worst of the worst case scenario, but medium worst case scenario is 2 cents. It is possible. I'll just put it that way. Now, when we go further back, look at the overall point of control from all this action as of recent. Where is it? It's at 1.55 cents, 1.58. Okay, and so look at the massive trading action that happens in this big chunk of volume here on the profile. This thing doesn't lie. Okay, so all we have to do is look at the momentum. That's all we have to do to know where we're going. So as I stretch this out here, if the momentum is headed downward, we need to look at the volume profile clusters that are below it. If the momentum is headed upwards, we need to look at the volume profile clusters that are up above it. Okay, so when we scrunch this down and scrunch this in, we can see that there's a lot less volume up here than what we have down here. So if BTC decides to continue to correct, and if we fill that CME gap, if the next week or two is still in a downtrend, then we got a good chance, kids, of coming back down to this previous area of this great big chunk around this price of 0.01596. All right, so never fear. Here's what I'm going to do. I don't think that this is necessarily a negative thing. I'm looking at it as an opportunity to do the DCA, and that's dollar cost average, because I want to bring my overall 3.3 price down to around 2 cents. And I'm going to do that by loading up a lot more at a lower price. It's all you got to do. Just buy on the deep dips and wait for the big movement to happen, because I'm not worried about this in the long run. Here's why. Let's just keep this on the 4-hour. We see that over time, the on-balance volume, which, as I always tell you, is just an approximation. It's not a guarantee, but it's an approximation of what the heavy-handed whales and institutional traders are doing as they're buying and selling and trying to churn the price and make money for their investors. Okay, so over time, we see that there's more consolidation going on than distribution, because this level just keeps on creeping up and up and up. So this is not bad. We're at a nice level here with an overall major upward trend dating back for the last year. Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. And even when you look at the big crasharooski that happened in March, there's the big capitulation event when the stock market crashed. The on-balance volume still held. It did not go back to previous levels that it was where it was back here, and we still continue to grow from that point. So this is a positive movement. And then on our stochastic, we see that on the 1 day, it's still pointed in an upward direction, even though, like I said, we have a divergence. We can come down from here. But on the overall, my eyes are on this on-balance volume, and I'm making sure that there's not a mass exodus that's about to happen with Justin Sun and his copycat Ethereum project. I think that this is a really interesting set of things that they have going on right now, where they're making a cheaper version of Ethereum without the fees. And so there could be a lot of DeFi that's going on the TRC20 tokens on the TRON blockchain. There's staking opportunities. There's all sorts of stuff. So I think that there's enough interest here that overall, I think the momentum is still moving into TRON. And when we have BTC into the overall bull run, the next bullish movement, I think it's going to be bright skies ahead, where the next movement could, after this correction, could see it maybe getting back to the price of where it was when we were all sitting waiting on that mainnet to move in 2018 when it peaked at 10 cents. It could at least do that again. So if I can dollar cost average to 2, I'm looking at a 5-bagger where we can sell this sucker off at 10 cents and move on to bigger and better things. So that's my TRON update for you. What are your thoughts about TRON? Where do you see it going, and how far down do you think it will go in the correction in the next week or two before BTC makes its move? I'd love to hear your advice, your opinion rather, on what you think is going to happen. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And again, I'm trying to set the goal of building 1,000 subs. You got to help me out so I can enable the stories feature, so I can bring you constant updates during the day with little 10-second videos showing you previews of monumental events that are happening, or when I see a formation that is indicative of a major breakout. I want to be able to provide that to you on YouTube stories. Did I say Facebook stories before? I don't know. I have to go back and listen to it. Well, anyway, that's all I got. This is Carlton Flowers, the Crypto Pro. I'm out.